At Weather Seal Home Services, they're the best in the business for any home improvement need that you may need. Right now, just $1 down, 7 years, zero financing. You can get that new roof that your home desperately needs. And the weather in Northeast Ohio, it's going to turn for the worse soon. We all know it. Winter is certainly coming. Don't be stuck in the cold with a bad roof. Weather Seal can make your new roof a reality, and they can do it in just a week. Call 877-351-SEAL or visit weathersealhomeservices.com. The sale ends at the end of this month, October 31st, Halloween, with approved credit and prior sales excluded. That is 877-351-SEAL or weathersealhomeservices.com to get in contact with them. They are the best. Kevin Stefanski off to a great start, 3-1. Here's some highlights from his press conference from earlier today.
Start with injuries.
Guys are both down.
Tay out there, Larry Ogunjobi, or Sheldon Richardson. They won't be practicing. Talking about these Colts, really good football team. I know our guys are looking forward to the challenge. 2 3-1 teams really should be a great game. And I think when you watch the tape on these guys, you see a very well-coached team. No surprise with Coach Reich. They do a great job on offense. Can hurt you in multiple ways. On defense, it's a very, very sound scheme. They're attacking. I think you guys have seen the tape and see the stats. They're outstanding. And then same on special teams. They do a really nice job. So quite the challenge for us. So we got to have a great week of preparation. With that, I'll take any questions.
Coach, obviously losing a player of Nick's quality would be devastating to some teams, but you guys have the perfect next man up, if you will, in Kareem. How confident are you that he's going to be able to just be as productive as he's been and that you guys will not have a fall off?
I mean, I'm confident in our entire running back room, Tom. I fully understand the caliber player that Nick is, and you know, we'd love to have Nick out there, but in the meantime, he's going to be hanging out with Joe Sheehan and the training staff and getting ready to get back out there. So in the meantime, I really think we have guys that understand the scheme, guys that can contribute in the run and the pass. I'm really excited for those guys. I think they're well coached. I think Stump's excited for the challenge of these guys. So we'll have to make do until Nick gets back.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned in your opening remarks that, how outstanding the Colts defense is. Obviously, the statistics, the rankings bear that out. But just when you watch them, what opens your eyes most? What concerns you most when you look at that side of the ball?
Team speed, effort. DeForest Buckner was a great addition for them, playing their 3 technique, gets up the field. He's long, active. The linebacker core can really run. Like I said, they're sound. They don't beat themselves. They're where they're supposed to be. So really impressive on tape.
Kevin, all right, offensively, we see your offense evolving week to week. Naturally, I'm sure you got more up your sleeve as we go along. In particular to the running game, does the injury to Chubb force you to pause your evolution or accelerate it?
Definitely doesn't force you to pause, Tony. I think if we're worth our salt, we're constantly evolving. So we know who's available to us each week and play to your players' strengths.
Hey, Kevin, your run defense hasn't gotten a whole lot of pub, but I think it's doing pretty well. What have you liked about it, and then what kind of a challenge do the Colts with their kind of stable the backs present?
Yeah, it's a good question because the Colts do a really nice job varying their run schemes. I think the rookie is a load. They really present some challenges, and then that offensive line is very impressive. And you guys know, across the board, and Quentin Nelson, I mean, you've seen all the highlights. I mean, that's a power team that can also run zone, can get on the perimeter. So I think you really have to be pure in your run fits. It's a big part of that this week because of the varying schemes that they present. And I think if we've had success this year, it's because we've been pretty good on our run fits.
What has Jordan Elliott shown you? I know he's played played some already and might need to play even more.
Yeah, he's done a nice job. Going to need him to continue to progress. His role will expand, but he's very, very diligent about this. He wants to be great, works really hard out at practice. So he's just needs to keep progressing.
When you're putting together a game plan, you use Chubb so much. Just talk about adjusting that game plan, those meetings without that attribute?
Well, I think run game wise, our backs
1 minute.
Multiple schemes. So we don't put in a run specifically for one of the runners, if that makes sense. So I don't think it has to vary a ton without Nick.
Hey, Coach. Talking to Baker, he called you smooth operator as a play caller. I'm not sure if you want to start going by that nickname, but I wanted to ask you about just offensively when you're looking at how you're going to attack it.
30.
How much of concerted effort are you putting into setting things up as for later in the game? Because Odell and Baker and some of the other guys have talked about, hey, on this big play, we set it up 2 quarters earlier.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And, we work really hard on Monday and Tuesday putting the game plan together. And
Stand by.
a lot of conversations throughout the week of what we're going to show first and what's coming second. So luckily, Alex Van Pelt, the rest of the offensive staff have a great feel.
You're up.
I think that's interesting when he talked about we spent Monday and Tuesday talking, game planning.
Yep.
Kevin Stefanski puts together a game plan, not, in some instances, unfortunately, we've seen first 15 plays, the script. Kevin Stefanski has a plan for the entire game. And what we've seen through the last 3 weeks is when we impose our will, he has all the correct buttons to push, all of them. Now, to be fair, we haven't had a chase since the opener.
Right. That's the next test.
That is the next test.
That's the next test for us. But he, as you said, look, all along, of course he's got a game plan. The 3 Ps, folks, pay attention. He's prepared, he's got a plan, and he has a process to implement that plan. And, of course, they're going to go week to week and attack the discrepancies, the subtleties, the advantages that they can make out of this defense. Now, this is a very good Colts defense, and we're going to talk about it a lot more as this program goes on. They're statistically very good. Now, you could throw the, well, who have they played argument against them, and I think that's a valid one at this point, as the teams they faced rank in the bottom half of the league in offense at this point. But it's a very good group. It's got talent at all 3 levels. Now, Darius Leonard's availability is going to be a massive piece to this game. He left last week with a groin injury. Their other linebacker left with a thumb injury and looks like he won't be able to play. But that's going to be a big one to watch. This is a very good football team, the Indianapolis Colts. They're excellent. Their corners, although, we'll talk about it, very well known by us and by our coaches. TJ Carey, who had been here for many years, known very well by our team. TJ. And the other one, loved TJ as well. Xavier Rhodes, who had been in Minnesota with all these guys for the entirety of his career up until this season. So we know those corners. Our receivers know TJ Carey. Our receivers know where his strengths are, what his weaknesses are, etc. So it's a team where there is some knowledge of it. We joint practice with these guys a year ago. I'm sure a lot of guys remember that experience, even though there has been much change. I'm excited for this matchup. I think this is a real good test, and this is one that I really think we have the opportunity to come out on top and have a decisive type of a victory.
Yeah, I like the matchup for us as well. I really do. I think it's going to be fun. We'll get into exactly what the Indianapolis Colts are all about. We will do that coming up next. In the meantime, though, if your game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. Coming up next, we meet the Colts. What to expect on Sunday when they come into town. You are listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Brilliant Electric Sign Company is Northeast Ohio's largest full-service sign company, serving their clients for over 91 years. Contact the experts at Brilliant Sign. Provide you state-of-the-art signage solutions that'll grow your business. Visit them at brilliantsign.com. Time to meet the Indianapolis Colts, led, of course, by Phillip Rivers this year for the first time. It's a team that is great up front on the offensive line. They've been really good defensively. I was thinking about this. You mentioned that joint practice. When we were over there, did we know at that point that Andrew Luck was going to retire?
No. He was at those practices. It was shortly thereafter. It was, and I remember I remember Ballard was right next to us, Gibbe, doing an interview with Pat McAfee, and they were like pressing him on it. And at that point, they were hoping he was going to be back soon.
It wasn't. Yeah. I don't think it was the post-game presser after our game. It was after one of the preseason games.
Yeah,
like literally. It wasn't the one we were involved in.
No,
because it was the next week. It was the following week because remember word leaked out and the fans started booing him in Indy.
Yeah, he had to walk off the court. And had this crazy press conference afterwards because it got out.
That was a week later after we left.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up is because when you look at the roster, you say if this team had Andrew Luck, it's right there.
Pretty good. Pretty
good roster.
Mm-hmm. It is a good roster.
Got a lot that you like.
You mentioned on the offense, you got Phillip Rivers, 88 of 121 so far this year for 984 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 8.1 yards per attempt is a very nice number. It's also very misleading. If you go and dive in on a game-by-game basis, yes. Week 1, 36 of 46 for 363 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Week 2, 19 of 25 again, very efficient. 214, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Week 3 against the Jets, 17 of 21, 217 yards. That's 10 yards an attempt. That's a very efficient game. 1 touchdown. And then Chicago, 16 of 29, 190, 1 touchdown in that winning effort. Now, his yards, at 363, he hasn't been to 220 again. Has not thrown multiple touchdowns in a single game yet. This is not an explosive passing attack. We talked about, we'll focus on the pass attack, just kind of top level. We'll get into their offense against our defense as we always do later in the week. But leading receiver, T.Y. Hilton, 13 catches, 162 yards. No touchdowns in 4 games. So that's 40 yards a game. Zach Pascal, 10 for 129, 1 touchdown. That's the entirety of the people, wide receivers who have more than 100 yards receiving on their team. Mo Alley Cox, the young tight end, 13 targets, 11 catches, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns. Actually, 17.6 yards a catch. That leads all tight ends. Plays of more than 25 yards. He's got 3. That leads all tight ends. He's been their biggest weapon. And look, tight ends have done pretty well against us. We need to make sure that we corral Mo Alley Cox. That's going to be very, very important for us going forward. Paris Campbell was off to a nice start. Injured. He's out. Michael Pittman Jr., he's out. So their receiving core is really Pascal and Hilton. They're not going to run a ton of 3 receiver sets, Mo Alley Cox, and they're going to run a lot of traditional football. I think we're going to be in our base defense more this week than not. Jonathan Taylor on the season, 65 carries, 250 yards, 3.8 a carry, 10 catches for 90 yards. Nyheim Hines, 23 carries, 73 yards, 3.2 a pop. 16 catches, 97 yards. Wilkins, 27 carries, 94 yards, 3.5 a pop. This is not an explosive offense by any stretch of the imagination.
As great as they are up front, I'm shocked at the running numbers. I'm just surprised that they have not been more efficient running the football with that front. It leads me to believe, and I won't pretend that I've watched every Colts game, but it leads me to believe that defenses are stacking the box and saying, we dare you.
Yes, I believe that they are, and one of the reasons that I believe that they are is you're wanting to see, okay, can you throw the ball down the field, Phillip Rivers? And I think that's it. You never want to give up big plays, but one of the things you need to know is can they throw the football down the field, and can they throw the football down the field effectively? And so far this season, Phillip Rivers on deep balls outside of the numbers to the left, 2 of 6, 63 yards. Down the middle, 1 of 1, 27 yards. To the right, 3 of 5, 73 yards. So not terrible. So it's 4 out of 6, 2 out of 6, 6 out of 12, 50% completions. And he's put up a total of 63 to 90, 163 yards. So that's not bad. That's averaging significantly over 10 yards a target. They have not scored on one of those big plays. But what strikes me when I look at his passing chart right now is middle of the field. Because he can't throw it outside as well as he used to. Of his passing attempts outside the numbers left, 15, 26, 28 outside the numbers left. Right outside the numbers, 23, 28, 32. Now we're talking middle of the field. This is stunning to me. 14, 37, 55, 56. So he's working the middle of the field, and his efficiency in the middle of the field, he had 36 pass attempts, I said, down the middle. He has 9 incompletions. 27 to 36, 75%, which is basically what he's doing everywhere. I mean, his numbers this year, 72.7% completions are pretty stunning. His quarterback rating is basically 100 regardless of the situation. Blitz, no blitz, pressure, no pressure. He's been solid, but he's not pushing the ball down the field. The majority of his work is 9 yards and in, except the middle of the field. He likes that 10 to 19-yard range in the very middle of the field, 13 of 18, 233 yards. That's where we have to watch, and frankly, that's been the toughest spot for us to defend as a pass defense.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Good synopsis out of you, and he will throw it to you. Our secondary is going to have opportunities. He will throw it to you. He did that against even some drops. He had a couple of throws against Chicago in the second half that were mind-numbing in terms of how off they were. So you're going to have opportunity to get some picks in this game. And if you're as good as their offensive line is, and what Miles is doing at this point, he is a statue. He's not going anywhere. So so this is fun. He is, by the way, I mean, he's long into his career, obviously, at this point, and give the man full respect. He is still fantastic on the mic. Did you see the NFL Films video of him from their game against the Jets?
No, but I watched 2 seconds of him against the Bears, and he literally was telling Roquan Smith as he came up to the huddle to do a check about how he got taken around the corner. And it pissed Roquan Smith off. It was great. He's like, no, he got you around the corner. He burned you around the corner. And he's like, and Roquan Smith said, he's like, no, he didn't. Right around the corner. Too easy. It's great.
He's funny, man. He had his mic'd up. He was yelling at Greg Williams. You can't play with 12, Greg. You can't play with 12. I mean, it's classic. It's really classic. He's a great character and a great. It's been fun watching him play over his career, but obviously the arm strength just not what it once was. Defensively, they're very good, but to your point, it is a team that has not been challenged by the best offenses in football by a long stretch.
No, their leading scorer is their kicker, Rodrigo Blankenship, leading scorer on the team. He's outscored his opponents 3 weeks in a row. They are not playing great offenses. Jacksonville, week 1, Minshew goes 19 of 20 against them for 3 touchdowns. Week 2, their second game, they end up going against the Vikings. They limit the Vikings to 11. That is, to me, their most impressive defensive performance of the season. Cousins, 11 of 26. Now, that's a similar style offense to what we run. And they shut them down. Now, the Vikings have kind of changed some things up and unleashed it. Week 3, though, is the Jets. Exactly. Week 4 is the Bears. And the Bears were not very good. The Bears didn't even try to run the ball, couldn't run the ball. No running backs gotten to 65 yards against this team. Not once. We've had a 70-yard rusher in every game. We've had multiple 70-yard rushers in 2 games, and we had 3 70-yard rushers last week alone.
I feel pretty confident you'll have a 70-yard rusher this week against them.
I do too.
I feel pretty confident about that. It's a fun team. It's an organization that's been incredibly blessed. When you're able to go from Manning to Luck and now trying to find their way post-Luck, trying to sort it out. But they've been a very stable franchise for a lot of years now since they drafted Peyton Manning, really. Before that, it was a little dicey in the RCA Dome and the move from Baltimore and all of that. But they've been a really strong organization for a long time in terms of the product that they put on the field. They are 3-1. We are 3-1. It is a 425 kick in front of 12,000 of you, which is exciting. That's awesome that we get to double that. And you're going to get a feel for, I think, a little bit of a home field. I mean, talking about 12,000, that's noticeable.
It's very noticeable, and you're going to need it. You're going to need to be loud. Phillip Rivers has had a lot of success coming here as a member of the Chargers. We've seen that far too often. I know Gibbe's seen that. So, yeah, you're going to need to be loud, bring it a little bit, and then it's a quality team. This is a team that isn't going to beat themselves, I don't believe. And defensively, up front, you're talking about Danico Autry, very good. DeForest Buckner was number 2 on Gil Brandt's top 5 Defensive Player of the Year candidates this year, behind our own Myles Garrett. Justin Houston's got 3.5 sacks so far this season. He's playing well. We talked about the linebackers. That's the question. Darius Leonard, is he going to be able to go? Not sure. Bobby Okereke, and I probably butchered that, and I apologize. I'll have to get the pronunciation guy from the Colts here to go through some of their defensive guys. But he's injured as well. Quarterbacks, T.J. Carey's got 2 picks. How about this? The leading interception getters in the NFL, T.J. Carey's got 2 picks. Xavier Rhodes got 2 picks. Pierre Desir, former Brown, 3 picks, leading the league after his 2-pick performance on Thursday night against the Denver Broncos. But they've got 2 pick sixes already this year. Their defense, Bo, when you talk about just a statistical standpoint, this is where their defense stacks up around the league. Now, again, you can talk about who they played, but the fact is they're taking care of business against their opponents, and for that, you can't really give anybody any grief. You can't. They are number one in total defense. They are number one in passing defense. They are number 4 in rush defense. They are number 1 in points allowed per game. They are number 1 in first downs allowed per game. They are number 1 in third down percentage. They are number 1 in fourth down percentage. They are number 2 in goal-to-go percentage of touchdowns allowed this season. They are 5th in takeaways, 11th in points off of takeaways, number 1 in interceptions, number 1 in pick sixes. They're pretty good. Fewest plays of 20 yards allowed or more. They are number 10. They are 1 in the NFL. They've allowed 10 plays of 20 yards or more this year. Rushing plays of 20 yards or more this season. They've allowed 0. They are number 1 in the NFL. They're second with 22 pass breakups. They are number 1 in safeties. They have 2 safeties already this season. I mean, this defense from a stat standpoint is ridiculous.
Something's got to give, buddy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had 20-something plays of 20 yards or more against the Cowboys last week.
Jeez. Yeah, it was a clinic. I'm just seeing this. LA brought this to our attention on Twitter. PaulKoharski.com on the Titans beat says that a group of Titans players worked out at Montgomery Bell Academy on September 30th despite an NFL directive not to hold such get-togethers while team headquarters were closed because of COVID-19, according to sources. He's got images as well. Requests for comment from Vrabel and John Robinson, the general manager, not returned in terms of getting comment from that. So that you talk about the penalty, now you're going to see it. I do believe that you will see a pretty stiff penalty here. And whether the players did it on their own, even if they did, it's the organization's job to make sure they don't and to tell them not to. And so if they did it, I think you could see your first big penalty from the COVID crisis, wouldn't you think?
I certainly think you would, and that is going to be, again, it is going to be very, very, they are going to be stern, and I would expect that they will be swift as that goes. That is pretty wild. About 15 Titans players were said to be there one day after the team's facility was shut down. That's stunning to me that is, in fact, that happened. It's stunning that it did happen from a logic standpoint. I'm not surprised. They were probably trying to say, look, we still have a game to get ready for, we got to focus. And if you read Ryan Tannehill's comments at the time, it wouldn't surprise me if he wanted to get guys together and throw the ball and run some routes and go through. And, hey, we've tested negative. We're probably okay. Not a great look. I think the penalties will be swift. I think they will be harsh. Just a couple of notes from around the league as well. Lamar Jackson not at Ravens practice today. That is unclear why. Also, word out
this week.
Word out of Indianapolis is that Darius Leonard and Anthony Costanzo, their great left tackle, not at practice today or not available to the media portion of practice out there for the Colts.
All right, good stuff out of you there. And good stuff out of Zenith here. They're as committed to athletes as they are to the game. Zenith helmets designed with an uncompromising attention to fit, feel, style, and safety. Learn more at zenith.com. That is zenith.com. Coming up next, our quarterback from the podium, Baker Mayfield. You'll hear from him. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
The ESPN Cleveland.
Ready?
Yep.
You're up.
Are you looking to refinance or purchase a home at Union Home Mortgage? Our process is simple and straightforward. The loan officer keeps you in the loop all the way to the end zone. Visit unionhomemortgage.com to get a mortgage you'll rave about. Union Home Mortgage, promises kept. Union Home Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2229, is an equal housing lender. Our quarterback Baker Mayfield met with the media earlier today. Have a listen to that.
Yeah, Baker, can you
Guys are both down.
on the challenge of moving forward, at least for the next few weeks, without Nick Chubb? And then, is there a reason to think that you guys can keep it going offensively on the ground with what you still have in Kareem, the way the offensive line has blocked, even as talented as Nick is?
Yeah, first of all, it always hurts losing a player like Nick, not for just his on-the-field performance. He's obviously a great player, but just the leader he is for this team, his work ethic, his mentality. He's the same guy every day, so that's an important thing for us. But we trust in our other guys, like we said post-game. We trust in the guys that step up. Kareem, I've said it multiple times, is a top back in the league, and we're blessed to have both those guys. But we trust in Dearness and Dontrell. But you said it starts up front, and those guys are playing extremely well, and they have been for, the whole year. We just have to keep going, keep getting better, and attack this defense like we have week to week.
Hey, Baker, Colts number one in all the major categories defensively. What stands out when you're watching these guys on the film?
They're a really sound defense. They play together. They're coached well. They hustle. You can see the effort. They swarm to the ball. And I think the biggest statistic is their turnover margin. So it's a team that capitalizes on your mistakes, and they don't mess up. They're where they're supposed to be. So it's going to be a fundamentally and technique sound week for us.
Baker, in terms of Kevin Stefanski, what have you learned about him as a play caller, and what's allowed you guys to find this early success under him? And the red zone especially has been really, really efficient for you guys. So what is your view of him as a play caller now?
Smooth operator. Right now we're continuing to call things that are working until teams show us otherwise that they can stop it. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to take our shots when we can. But we're gonna pound the rock and try and create matchups on the outside and take advantage of that.
We all think that we're play callers, and I'm just curious, Baker, when that call comes in from Coach Stefanski, how much have you guys been in sync to maybe what you're thinking might work at that time and then what he sends in?
We're very much on the same page. I would say just through the meetings throughout the week and talking on the field of why we're doing certain things, why we're formatting and running certain plays. It's just we're very much on the same page, and so I think that's why we're continuing to grow and get better each week.
How much do you see along those lines, and how much do you see this offense evolving? I mean, it looks like you guys are getting deeper and deeper into the playbook. Where can this go?
The sky's the limit for us. I said that, but we're a very different team from week one. You can look at the calls, the plays, the schemes, all of it. We're very different, and we're going to continue to evolve and grow and see what's working for us.
Hey, Baker, I wanted to ask you about a couple of the trick plays that Kevin called on Sunday that were successful. Just, first of all, how much does that energize you guys whether it's a reverse or an end around, whatever? How much does that energize you when a call like that comes in, especially if, Odell talked about after the game how he had been on coach to call that reverse and pass?
We've had that one there for a while. We needed to get it off the play sheet, and it was perfectly called timing-wise and obviously well executed. But when those plays hit, it's such a momentum either killer for the defense or motivator for us. So it seemed to work out, so we got to keep that going. And even if they don't work, you just have to, those boom or bust plays, you have to avoid the negative plays. And we did a good job of creating positive ones.
I know you've been asked a lot of questions about Odell and getting him involved early and whatnot, but just what type of energy does he bring, not only on the field, but on the sidelines, and especially when he's getting those touches early? It seemed on Sunday he got the touches early, and so he just was so explosive throughout the game. But just what type of energy does he bring when he's getting the ball in his hands?
It's very electric. I would say that not only for us, we can feel that energy, but I think the other teams can feel it too, of the oh crap moment of if he's running down the field or he's got the ball in his hands. He obviously can create space and get open, but his ability to make plays when he already has the ball in his hands is the very special thing about him.
To Baker, we see that you get David Njoku back this weekend. What does he add to your offense?
Yeah, no, we're very happy to have David back. We've had a lot of good plays in that tight end room and trusted those guys, so it's obviously great to have another playmaker involved. Just another piece of this puzzle, and we're happy to have him back. So we'll see as the game plan goes on of what we're going to do, but we're happy to have him.
Hey, Baker, I think it was Pam Oliver who asked you about the last time the Browns did 3-1, and you said you didn't care. And you've said kind of the same stuff to us when we've asked you about things in the past. But I'm curious, how tough is it to keep that attitude of, it's only about right now? And if it's been hard because there's people on the team, people in the building who've gone through all that losing?
For me, it's not very hard at all. Just on to the next one. The most important game is always the next one. I wasn't here for all that. I was here to change it, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not worried about the negative. I'm only worried about getting better and improving, and pushing this franchise forward.
Do you ever find yourself running into people either in the building or around town that are kind of hanging on to the negative?
Well, yeah, for starters, you guys, but other than that, yeah, around town.
Hey, Baker, can you talk about, I know it's a combination, but the protection you've got this year? Obviously, the running game has taken, teams, but as far as just the protection, pass protection for you?
It's been great. I said after the Washington game, there was a couple sacks that were completely my fault, and I think the stats showed that we had 2 or 3 last week, which one of them was the scramble play, which I could have gotten the ball out of my hand, and the other one was where we had a shot play drawn up, and it was a 0-yard sack. So they played extremely well, and that's because we're so balanced right now. We're doing a lot of things well, and we need to continue to do that. But up front, those guys are playing great, and they're going to continue to get better as the season goes on.
Baker, when you talk about how the scheme and the play calling and those kinds of things are so much different than they were in the first week, I'm wondering about you specifically. And we can see some of those things, but what kinds of things has Kevin done to sort of make you feel more comfortable running this offense, calling things that help you, get your confidence going, and how much do you appreciate that, first of all?
Well, I appreciate keeping the defenses guessing of not knowing what we're doing, so they can't exactly pin their ears back and key in on us too much. So it's easy for me when we do have certain plays, and I can just go through my reads and not worry about how many people they're going to bring, because they don't know what we're going to do. Well, we have such a well-balanced attack right now, obviously heavier in the run game than in the past, but the thing about our passing game is extremely efficient right now, and that's because of the timing of play calls, the scheming up, and so obviously thankful for that.
And a lot of guys have talked about how this team feels special, and it just has some kind of feel about it. What makes it so?
We have built a foundation in the offseason. I talked about it with the intro, the player intros, the staff intros, the 4-H's over the Zoom meetings. It could have been very easy to complain and have excuses, but nobody here did, and we're just going through it. We're adapting and evolving as the season goes on. It's obviously a lot of ebbs and flows with this, but this team is resilient, and we're going to continue to grow. But we laid a good foundation to be able to do that, and I think that's the key part of it.
Nick is such a quiet leader, but it seems like Kareem is sort of, at least with his guys, he's sort of, taking them, a more vocal role. Do you see him maybe evolving in that now that Nick's going to be out for a while?
Yeah, Kareem was already a very vocal guy. It's just him and Nick are very opposite in that way. So it's a very lightning and thunder lightning approach. But I see Kareem being more vocal as this goes on, but that's nothing new to him. He's not changing. He's not going to overcompensate and try and do too much. And he understands that. He's a great teammate. And he's just going to be himself. And that's somebody that brings the energy every day, talks his trash, but backs it up. And we're happy to have him.
Hey, Baker, obviously COVID cases are starting to rise around the league. There's some positive tests, some games being postponed, canceled, what have you. What have you radically had to change outside the facility in terms of lifestyle to keep yourself safe?
Not much is different for me. Just still staying inside and not going out to restaurants too much, just kind of sticking to my business. But to me, it's not that damn hard. Just wear your mask. We all want to play football, so everybody's got to do it. Just do it.
1 minute.
Guys being more vigilant about it now, though, Baker, like over the last week, obviously we've seen a lot more stuff happening.
Yeah, I would say so. There's definitely more topic of discussion about it, especially with the new protocols being placed. So it is what it is. We just have to deal with it and move on.
Hey, Baker, I just want to follow up on the play calling thing again. With Kevin, it seems like there's a thing that we've seen repeated where he's able to set things up throughout the game. How instrumental has that been in some of the big plays that you guys have been able to make?
That's huge.
30.
You know, when you're having success in the run game and able to create similar looks and similar formations, motions for these defenses to see over and over, and then you come back and you show something totally different, but it looks similar up until that point, that's essential. So we've done a great job of, you know, being able to have success.
Stand by.
And then Kevin trusting in that to continue calling it until it's the right time and to call the shots. That's something that just comes natural to him. So it's good for us.
You're up.
All right, good stuff from Six there. And I do think the question about the negativity and how do you ignore it, I do think that there are some certainly that are around the team, that are in media, that are even people who live here who the negativity is part of the fabric of it. Of
course.
Is the negativity. And we're not the only one that has had this. I think the Red Sox had this until they won it. I think the Cubs, you almost lose your identity when you win in some of these instances. And I do think it's comfortable to be negative. I do think that exists, and I've sensed that, you know, since I've been up here now, that there is people who are more comfortable in that area.
Of course, it's just kind of the nature of things. And some, you know, I hate to say, just in general, it seems that we are a society that thrives on negativity. You and I, we thrive on enthusiasm and positivity and optimism.
Enthusiasm, positivity.
But not everybody does that. And so, yeah, it is a thing. I like to see a little bit of the bite back there with Baker, but I think, you know, we need to keep continuing to handle our business on the field. And I love smooth operator. Where had he heard that before? Maybe he was listening to yesterday.
I like that.
He might have been listening to Browns Daily yesterday.
Little Sade.
Yeah.
Little Sade shout out yesterday.
Yeah.
Bernie Kosar, always a smooth operator and always full of optimism. He will join us coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Are you obsessing over something like football and you think it could be a problem? Well, it could be to a certain extent, but if you're obsessing over gambling, that can be downright dangerous. So do something to take your mind off of it, like finding a hobby. Want more tips like this? Go to keepitfunohio.com for great ways to keep gambling fun. And with that, we head out on the Fifth Third money line and visit with our great friend Bernie Kosar, who joins the program. What was the experience like for you down in Dallas? I saw some images of you down there. It looked like you were down there anyway, and taking in that game of two of your former teams.
Well, Nathan, great to be with you, especially post another Browns victory. To finish the first quarter of the season 3-1, and to get that victory down in Dallas, where I got my Super Bowl ring, was absolutely an emotional weekend and fantastic to be down there, and honored to have been on both organizations and played for both teams, and really happier to have gotten on that flight after the game with the Cleveland Browns victory.
And it was great to see that Browns victory, Bernie. And this one, you race out to that 41-14 lead, and you got to say that maybe some of the best three quarters we've seen from this Browns team. What stood out to you offensively from this performance?
Oh, the thing that stood out to me, like I think stood out to about everybody around the country, was the physicalness of our team. I mean, we knew that we were a physical team, but to go down to Dallas, America's team, an organization and a franchise that perennially has been an historic franchise, and for the Cleveland Browns to get the most yards rushing, 307 yards against the Dallas Cowboys, for the most yards that they've ever given up, that in itself is incredibly telling. And that physical approach that we took to them this past Sunday was incredible to watch, and that's what we were talking about last week. That as we build upon that physical presence offensively, this is the type of offense that once it keeps going like this, this will lend itself to playing good football in the winter and hopefully in January.
Bernie, you watch what this run game is doing, and we talk a lot about the talented backs, and we've talked a lot about the talent up front. But the way that Bill Callahan has them working, it's like a symphony. If you're familiar, as I was as a kid, and loved the great NFL films with John Facenda's voice, you can almost picture the classical music and Facenda talking about Wyatt Teller on a pull, or Joel Bitonio, or these enormous holes opening up, and then our running backs being met by a safety and say, well, I'm Nick Chubb and I'm Kareem Hunt. I'm going to make you miss and watch me pick up 18. The way that this is being orchestrated up front by Callahan, Bernie, have you seen stuff? There's been instances, certainly some great offensive line play, but this appears to be as good as anything I've ever seen through a quarter of the season. I realize it's early, but I love what I'm seeing. What are you seeing?
I absolutely concur with that, and would love to just continue following up on all that effusive praise. Even more so without preseason games, with a rookie left tackle who played his whole college career at right tackle, to almost be an orchestra, like you articulately pointed out, a ballet, a symphony. How they work in conjunction, in unison together, is absolutely one thing. But also on top of that, which we were just talking about, the physical presence of working in unison together and moving down the field. They're not working in unison together and retreating like some offensive lines do. They're standing their ground and moving forward, and the holes that they're kicking open is clearly evident when we have basically four tailbacks having impressive running games like we did this past Sunday.
It was fun to watch, as you mentioned, the 307 yards on the ground, the most against a Dallas Cowboys team ever in the history of that storied franchise. But, Bernie, I want to get into your quarterback eyes and talk a little bit about our pass defense, because for three quarters, other than a few slip-ups here and there, it did well. Obviously, the final stats would show a rough day for the pass defense, much of that happening, obviously all of it really happening in the fourth quarter when they went into prevent. But when you see our pass defense through a quarterback's eyes, what are the strengths you see, and where does it need to get better? Well,
it's clear. It's clear where the strength of our pass defense and defense is in the pass rush. You see when Myles Garrett is coming around the edge like that, guys like Sheldon Richardson are pushing the interior of the pocket back. That puts that duress on the quarterback. Even though Dak Prescott had a statistically beautiful game, in the points of the game that mattered, that pressure from our defensive line, in particular Myles Garrett, causing those strip sacks, is incredibly disruptive at points in the game that really matter. Denzel Ward and the cover ability of one-on-one absolutely helps when the pass rush is there. But again, a lot of people are making a lot of the amount of yards they got against us and the prevent defense. But ultimately, the end result is somehow, some way, the old Jimmy Johnson line, getting that W, and we did the right things to get that W the other night.
Yeah, we certainly did. Talking with the great Bernie Kosar, of course, on the Fifth Third money line. This offense through a quarter is a running machine. We know that. Baker incredibly efficient the last 3 weeks. The one thing that we haven't been asked to do is chase a game yet. We haven't had to go come back. And the other thing that we're probably still waiting on a little bit is to unlock those chunk plays. As a young quarterback who at some point is going to have to chase, and we want to be able to unlock those big plays, what does Baker need to do to be able to hit those chunk plays when they're there, and then also put himself in position to come from behind and win a game?
That's a real fair question, and there's been a lot of emphasis on and attention, as there always is in all 32 teams, on the quarterback play, and Baker in particular, and the Browns on their offensive passing attack. But keep in mind, we laid 49 points on the Dallas Cowboys last week. That's the third week in a row we've been north of 30 points from an offensive perspective. And after each game, there's been in question about the passing game and Baker. So from my perspective of it, I just somehow, some way love that the quarterback gets the W. And I love the way he's played and the offense has played. And I would absolutely kind of suggest that he just stays within himself and stays within the way we've been playing. This is an incredible test this week. Hopefully this isn't the week that we fall behind with the Colts having the top defense in the NFL, stout against the run, stout against the pass. Frank Wright's done an amazing job of putting that team together. So there's a time and a place where that's going to happen. But right now, being 3-1 and having a chance to go 4-1, I think Baker right now needs to keep doing what he's been doing, because the progress not only he's made individually, but the progress the offense has made is really starting to show the dominance that we could be overall within the whole league to the other 31 teams.
And Bernie, for this team, we've talked so much. You love the multiple backs, the multiple tight ends, and just the development of rookie Harrison Bryant. Now, the Chief, who I thought adds a vertical element to that room, coming back this week after his great Week 1 performance. Why are those multiple tight ends really so important, and why are they not only the running game's best friend, but also the quarterback's best friend?
Great point, Nathan. You saw last week's game with the multiple personnel groups, the multiple tight ends, two backs in the backfield, the motions and shifts. If you look at the all-22 copy, wow, you saw the Dallas Cowboys defensive guys pointing at each other, talking, pushing each other into alignment. They were misaligned on their run support and rotation probably 40% of the time in that game the other day. And that's a direct correlation to Coach Stefanski and those personnel groups. I love that Chief is coming back. It'll add a vertical component to the tight end position on top of his physical presence within there. And that's causing teams, those personnel matchups with those tight ends, that's causing teams alignment issues. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the top-rated defense in the Indianapolis Colts handle the multiple tight ends and the multiple backs.
Bernie, the quarterback on the other side of the field this week has been around a long time, the great Phillip Rivers, and As take me into his mind a little bit, as because the mind is still sharp, but obviously physically he doesn't have what he used to have. How do you, as an aging quarterback, compensate for that? Is it, and what do you feel the effects of most? Is it arm? Is it feet? And I understand every body's different, but when you think of these guys getting older, and Rivers is a guy who's still in there, he's effective, 70% passer, still getting it done, but has certainly lost his fastball. Take me inside his mind a little bit. How is he overcoming that at this stage in his career?
Well, I'm going to show my age here, and I was honored to be part of the Coach Mark Trestman and helping recruit him to North Carolina State back, it seems like another century ago. But,
yeah.
Phillip Rivers, you hit it right on the head, Beau. He's an amazing quarterback. Debatably, he's had almost a Hall of Fame type career. But at this point of his career, it's the intelligence and his ability to understand and comprehend defenses. Absolutely, if you look, the percentages of his throws are inside the numbers. So as we age, throwing the out route, throwing the comebacks, throwing the corner routes, the fades outside the numbers is incredibly stressful, to duressful, to almost impossible given certain weather conditions. It's supposed to be 70 degrees and windy, wind out of the south on Sunday. That sounds like a beautiful day. In Cleveland Stadium, that could be incredibly windy. Typically, that does not bode well for us quarterbacks. The way Baker is younger, and the way we're running the ball right now with the bootlegs and play action, that handles the wind a lot better than the drop back game, trying to throw the ball outside the numbers. So this could, his intelligence is absolutely a weapon. But as we age, the weather becomes imperative that we understand what to do with that.
And Bernie, that's a great point. Just looking at the numbers, outside the numbers on passes of 10 to 19 yards in the air, Phillip Rivers, 9 of 17 for 152 yards, 2 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 43. 10 to 19 yards in the air in the middle of the field, 13 of 18, 233 yards, and a quarterback rating of 114.4. Now, is there anything that a defense can do to try to incentivize a quarterback to throw those on the outside? Because when you look at his stats and his numbers in the middle of the field, it's absolutely stunning how effective and efficient he has been in the middle of the field, and you want to try to make him drive the football outside. So how do you go about doing that?
Absolutely, you could do that. Fantastic question. And this kind of got me a little bit at the end of my career, and absolutely what trends you towards a quicker retirement announcement than going out there on Sunday. When you struggle outside the numbers and you have your cornerbacks sit and squat at that. If on an outbreaking route at 10 to 12 yards, you squat at 10 yards. On a comeback that breaks at 16 to 18 yards, or a square in that breaks at 16 to 18 yards, you absolutely squat on that, because there is almost no chance that he's going to throw a takeoff versus off coverage outside the numbers. So you could bait him with hard inside technique and pack the middle of the field where there is no ability to throw the ball, enticing him outside, and then you squat your corners and you jump those routes.
Bernie, we love you, and we always
Inject
get smarter when we have you on.
veins.
Injected into our veins is right. Appreciate you so much, my friend.
Love you guys. Go Browns.
Go Browns.
Absolutely. The great
Love
Bernie
Bernie.
Kosar on with us, and a reminder that Bernie and all guests who appear on CBD appear via the Fifth Third Money Line. Fifth Third Bank, making Cleveland Browns Daily a Fifth Third better. You'll hear from Wyatt Teller coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. 21 years ago, Alex started out of a small garage in Lakewood. Now, to celebrate those humble beginnings in that garage, Alex is having a mattress garage sale. It's the same high-quality mattresses they've always had, just even lower prices. And anything mattress-related, they're going to have you covered. Pillow top, memory foam, gel foam, all the sizes. They also have 0% financing available. These are available to be delivered right now. And during the garage sale, you get a Sierra Sleep Queen for just $3.99, a Kenilworth Queen pillow top for just $4.99, wow, and an Oakmont Queen double-sided pillow top for just $7.99. They're in stock. They're ready to deliver, plus great deals on mattresses and everything else at Northeast Factory Direct. Check them out. West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, Freeway Drive in Macedonia, the Clearance Center in Maple Heights, are online at northeastfactorydirect.com.
All right. I'm going to set you up here for a huge T transition. Not that you need any setup, but that's what you like to do as a teammate. Pro Football Focus just announces their first quarter of the NFL All-Pro team. There are 3 Browns featured. On defense, Myles Garrett, no surprise. On offense, tackle Jack Conklin, great free agent signing.
Really?
And then
that's interesting.
Guard Wyatt Teller. Why did I go with Wyatt Teller last, Beau?
Oh, that's very interesting because right now you get to hear from Wyatt Teller. Let's have a listen.
Hey, I'm not sure what the
both on.
You guys have had a lot of success on that pull to the left. It's kind of like a trap where you're either isolated on a linebacker or somebody filling that hole. Is that play suited for you? I mean, you love when that one's called.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of plays where I'm pulling to the left, Joel's pulling to the right, I'm pulling to the right, Joel's pulling to the left. So, I mean, I guess the key to it is plugging in our guards and guys who've been playing well, and Joel and I, and just trying to get the scheme right, and eye candy, but at the same time we're running downhill and we're having a good time.
Hey, and obviously you guys lose Nick, but you have the perfect next guy up in Kareem. How impressed have you been with the way he's run this year?
Yeah, I mean, Kareem's been amazing, and he's a great guy to run in front of because he usually makes you right, which you're thankful for. But the Nick play, I mean, it was it's tough, and that's the way it works. And I know that he's going to rehab himself better and be back stronger than ever. So my heart and prayers go out to him. But we're not hurting, and that's what's so beautiful about the backfield that we have is. I mean, you even look at D'Ernest. And all those guys. I mean, we have great running backs who when you distribute the ball, they can run for some yards too.
You said you need to get better. I'm kind of curious at what.
Yeah, no, my man, thank you. I appreciate that. But no, there's a lot. I know that I know my finish and my effort has been good, and I know that I can even improve in that. But when I look at my play. Some people would say, wow, he's being a mauler. Wow, everything looks good. But I just know that I can play at such a high level with my feet, with my hands, with my hat placement where, sometimes I'm behind the block and luckily my strength gets the job done. But that doesn't always work when you're going against people like Buckner and guys like that. You got to be perfect because, they're perfect and they play hard and they have the same effort you have. But now they're just as strong, if not faster, if not stronger. So. There's a lot of things that I know when I see them, like, that's good. It's a good finish, but I know that my footwork can be better and I can make it look easier.
Hey Wyatt, Nate mentioned Coach Callahan. I mean, what is it about him? People are just raving about him, and he's been doing this for so long. What makes him so good at this?
His attention to detail. I mean, that man can see the perfect, or someone would say, wow, that's the perfect block, and he'd be like, but his toe was, 45 degrees the wrong way. I mean, I'm telling you, that's the biggest thing. All right, Coach, I got you. All right, yeah. So there's a little bit of that, but I know that Coach he just wants the best. And he wants his guys to succeed. And if you're playing for Coach Callahan, he wants you to do well, and that's something that some coaches are like we're kind of back against the wall. I hope he does well, but I just don't know. He's the kind of guy who he's going to put in 18 hours before the game to make sure that you're on the right page and that you're working well and that you get the idea. Even if the technique is a little bit behind, that you understand the fundamentals.
Hey, Wyatt, when you look at that offensive line coming into the season, it felt like you were kind of the fifth guy, right? You had a bunch of big names across the line. First of all, did that motivate you? And then how gratifying is it for you to have the success and recognition that you've gotten so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, I still want to start with it's still early, right? And I know that I can play at a high level, but I know that, can still get better. And that's one thing that, a lot of people have been patting me on the back, telling me, oh, you're amazing. Your stuff don't stink. And I'm like, hey, let me tell you, there's always something you can improve on. There's always something you can get better at. And I can see it. And at almost every play, even if it's, plus and, Pro Football Focus, put
1 minute.
It's a crazy play. I'm still like, wow, I could have fit my backside hand underneath and got more lift and even more push. So that's always the mindset. You're always trying to get better. And I've been thankful with Coach Callahan. He's been a stickler about it. He's been watching me and making sure that the bad plays you put on film are mitigated, right? You put less and less, and you're more consistent all around stud, and that's the mindset that I want to get into.
30.
When you see Joel, you see JC, you see Jack, you see these guys, and even Jed has it. He has it. He's just young. Same with me. We see guys who have done it year in and year out, and they've done it at a high level. And whenever I see them, I'm like, that's what I want to
stand by.
be. And it's kind of cool. You have Jack and Joel are the smart ones, and I'm the mauler. So they tell me what to do, and I go maul them. So it's a pretty good deal.
You're up.
They're the smart ones. They tell me what to maul, and I go maul it. That's incredible.
That's a great line. It's perfect.
That's a great line. We loved him so much last year. And there was a WWE event he was at. Do you remember? And he was dressed up and all into it. What was that? Do you remember that? Was that a year ago?
Last year?
Or was it 2 years ago? Wasn't there a WWE event that all of our guys went to, and he dressed up? Am I imagining this?
I don't. No, you're not. Hold on. Carry on.
Monday Night Raw.
I
was
feel
Raw.
like it was
Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
Was he part of that group?
Got it.
If it was
he was dressed.
Here it is. Hold on. It was he and Eric Kush were there. I remember that.
Oh boy.
Hold on.
And
I'm
he
pulling
was
up
really
the picture
dressed
right
up,
now.
if
Pulling up
memory
the picture.
serves.
No, Wyatt Teller was not dressed up. Kush was in a wife beater and very ready for the action.
Oh, it was Kush who was dressed up?
More so than Teller. Teller was just in a hoodie and a hat, but it was certainly obviously happy to be there.
Oh,
JC,
okay.
Joel, Kendall Lamb as well were all there. But yeah, Kush is in shorts and a camo. It kind of looks like a Bushwhackers top for those who remember the Bushwhackers. It's Kush that you're thinking of, no doubt. Who's
it was
also
Kush who was dressed that way. But I knew that Teller was there.
Yes, he was. You are correct. You are correct, sir. Yeah. Yes.
That is correct. All right, good stuff there. He's playing at a historic level. I mean, when you start getting tossed around with what you've done at this point to Marshall Yanda and some of the best who have ever played guard, it's 4 games, but he has been a revelation.
Absolutely, he's been better than a revelation. He's been fun, and he's going out there. He's beating people up. He's paving the way. As Tom Withers pointed out, that kind of when they pull him around, sometimes that's been the most effective thing that the Browns have done in the ground game. So he's been just tremendous. This whole line, as we mentioned, Jack Conklin, highest graded run blocking tackle in the NFL. Bitonio, 11th graded run blocking guard in the NFL. Teller, first-rated run-blocking guard in the NFL. Treader, 4th-ranked run-blocking center in the NFL. So you're talking about a group that has been dominant. And Jedrick Wills is still 40th. He just was the only one that wasn't, considered right at the top of the league per Pro Football Focus. Your tight ends, you've got Hooper's the 5th tight end. Harrison Bryant's 14th. You got the number 1 fullback. You got 3 of the top 18 run-blocking receivers. It's all there for you.
I have it right.
You do have it right.
Tweeted out a GIF of him. He's dressed as the Body, Jesse the Body Ventura with the from his wrestling days. He's got his shirt off. It is him. He's right next to JC.
Jesus.
We tweeted it out on our. Do you see it?
I don't see it yet. It hasn't come up on mine. But I'm looking at our ClevelandBrowns.com article, and I didn't see it. I saw him in. Maybe it was underneath.
There's a WWE tweet. The Browns are in the building.
Yeah.
At Raw, and it's from the
Kush
actual
there?
Telecast. Kush is there.
So he must have had it on under this hoodie that he's wearing in this picture.
He had it on. Then it's Bitonio, JC, and then Wyatt's at the end with the steel chain link thing on his head.
Oh, yeah. That's Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. Holler if you hear me. That's who that is.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's Big Papa Pump. Oh, yeah.
Didn't Jesse the Body wear those old school wear that?
Jesse the Body he would wear like a feather boa, and he would have that had the chainmail ahead. That is
okay. So
Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner.
All right. But I had it right.
You were right.
Teller was dressed up. Yes. I thought I remember that. I will not lose it, all of it.
No, so the
Some
picture they posted, that was actually what you're talking about, is a video from Raw where they panned to the Browns there.
From Raw.
Yeah, the picture he
Yes.
took afterwards, he is much more in a much more civilized state.
Right. But that's right. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's
All right,
good.
Good to know that.
Yeah, that's
that I
big.
remember that correctly.
That's Scott Steiner. Big Papa
Okay.
Pump.
See, that's all right. Very good. For some reason, I thought the Body wore one of those back in his old wrestling days. He had one of those from time to time. But are you on the injured list? We can help get you back in the game. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Lots more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for my great friends at Raising Cane's, and on game day, go for the win with Raising Cane's chicken fingers. Stack your roster with delicious, hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers and cane sauce. Be perfect for a Sunday tailgate. Hurry up with crispy crinkle-cut fries, coleslaw, buttery Texas toast. Top it all off, freshly made tea and lemonade. And visit the newest Raising Cane's location on Brook Park Road in North Olmsted, right behind Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Raising Cane's chicken fingers. One last thing on the Titans. You mentioned Roger Saffold and the images. Agent this a jury to say that it's
1 minute
photo. I plead the fifth. Y'all stay safe out there. The tone they're taking on this, it couldn't be more wrong. Couldn't be more wrong. The NFL is going to pound them. Pound them.
Not great, Bob.
Why?
As you like to say.
Why? Why do it? What are you doing on social media? What are you doing?
Boy, it's not good. Again, I think this right now, no comment is the best comment. Just don't even address it. You deal with what happens.
No.
I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to be prepared to take on The undefeated Pittsburgh
get it.
Steelers. I get it. I think everybody
Sure.
gets it. Just
Everybody
don't
gets
say
it.
anything and
ain't the way.
deal with what comes.
Yep, that's the way to handle that. What's coming up next is the next level. Thanks for listening. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.